It looks like Sega's going to be opening up a brand new video game studio in Sapporo, Japan. It's going to be headed by Takaya Sagawa, the producer of Phantasy Star Online 2. And honestly, this is huge news and very happy for Sega. And it's not surprising that they plan on opening up a new studio, considering how successful Phantasy Star Online 2 is. In fact, that's probably the most successful video game that Sega has probably ever created. And the game came out back in 2012, so that was almost 10 years ago. And I guess since its release, overall, the game has managed to accumulate at least 100 billion yen, which is the equivalent of $907 million. And honestly, like, as an MMORPG, it's probably one of the most successful games to come out of Japan. And honestly, I think like that's a big deal, and the fact that Sega is taking all that momentum and all that money and opening up a new studio is pretty cool, and it definitely shows that Sega definitely has plans to expand their operations. In fact, that was made apparent back in November of 2021 when it was announced that Sega had partnered up with Microsoft to use their cloud platform to expand their operations, to create large scale global games and all that stuff. I'm still trying to decipher what that really means, but I feel that this decade's going to be really big for Sega, and we can expect a lot of major games from them. Hopefully they stay within the realm of MMORPGs or racing, because it seemed like Sega really thrives in those particular genres. I'm not saying they're horrible in any other genres. It's just that, I don't know, Sega coming out with like a first-person shooter game or something like that is not going to be as good as something you would see on, the Xbox Series X or what have you. There are certain video game consoles where certain genres stand out more than others. I feel like Sega's really good at MMORPGs, and in the past, they've been really good at creating racing games. So if they focus on those two genres, and maybe, the platform genre, because they're really good at creating Sonic games, they could be really successful. And, they won't have a huge, problems with accumulating revenue and all that stuff. In fact, I don't think they're going to have huge problems accumulating revenue regardless, because it seems like they're making a lot of power moves that's going to work in their favor over the next couple of years. And honestly, when it comes down to them coming out with new games and all that stuff, it makes me wonder whether or not they have any plans on re-entering the console wars. Now, a lot of people will be excited to see that, but the landscape is very different from what it was back in the late 90s, early 2000s, because you got to remember the last video game console that they came out with was Dreamcast, and it had a very short lifespan, and it lasted from 98 to 2001, and I guess the console was considered to be a flop in comparison to the Sega Genesis and even the Sega Saturn to some extent. But I honestly feel like if Sega came out with another game system, I feel like they've learned from their mistakes, and they could definitely put out a game system that sells more than the Sega Genesis did during its peak. But we'll just have to wait and see what's going to happen with this new video game studio, whether or not we're going to get more high-profile games to the level of Phantasy Star Online 2. It's going to be pretty hard to make a sequel or a game to probably top that particular title in terms of commercial success, but we'll just have to wait and see.